Hi, this is John. How are you doing today? I wanted to talk about protesters and why they are so dangerous. This has this thought I have. I'm trying to flush out, trying to get it to make some sense. So I'm throwing it into this video to work on it as I go. Protesters are dangerous because they're not really exercising what I consider to be free speech. When I come on here on this channel and talk to you, I'm talking about my ideas, my perceptions, concepts, and I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I'm just telling you, hey, I've got an idea. And then I ask you, what do you think of that? What can you add to it? Is there a portion of it that's wrong? And I'm not asking you to tell me, yeah, you're wrong and that you're absolutely right. What I'm saying is there something in your perception that's different for you, rather than others? When I see these protesters, they believe they are absolutely right, and that to oppose them is to pronounce you, for opposing them, a criminal. And that is why they are just jumping up and calling people fascists. They have no problem identifying and labeling people as both wrong and then criminal. So the difference between a protester and someone exercising free speech, and I think this is lost, is that someone engaging in a free speech exercise is actually trying to win someone or influence them, or at least share a concept in an open way and respect and value their opponent or the other party's opinion, their mind. They're recognizing it as free when you and I, engage in free speech. The problem with protesters, right, where they go wrong is they want everyone to believe them because they know. And that is why protesters are so dangerous. That is why the leftists are such dangerous radicals. So I come on here and I try and influence people. I try and share my opinions. I use my experience as a guide. I use my observations as a guide, but I always leave it up to you to determine whether or not what I'm saying has validity. Now, our nation, the United States of America, has a constitution. I think it's very well written in clear and concise English. There's not a lot of ambiguity, but somehow other political parties, people with a different bent on what they think the world should be, use sophistry to change the meaning of words, and then they believe that they're correct, right? They mistranslate the Constitution, in other words. Even though I know that I'm right, I don't run out and start bitch slapping people and burning their houses to the ground. I don't use that as an excuse to go after people, to label them, to single them out, and then victimize them. But that is what the left does do. And I think I would be perfectly justified in doing what I do because I know, right? After 25 plus years of intense study, I know what's right. But those are just my opinions. Even though I know they're right, I can back them up. I have literal examples. The truth is only the truth in a person's mind. So that's why I'm here. I'm trying to work with people to get them to think, to get them to act, right? To persuade them, right? To influence someone's thinking in a way to cause them to choose of their own free will what to do. And I think that's been lost in America. In England, that was the purpose of debate. right? And it was carried here in colonial America because it was largely influenced, the government, by English practices. The debate was not about either convincing somebody or beating the shit out of them, even though I'm sure it turned into that quite often. But it's about an open arena of ideas and a respect of your fellow man's opinion, or at least his perspective. And we've lost that. And that is why this country is in such dire shape. The institutions of education, of higher learning, academia, were taken over. They were taken over, literally, by ideological Marxists. And this was done over 100 years ago. And they have slowly, incrementally increased their power so that a larger and larger percentage of the population is influenced, right? That is to say that they are convinced that the left's ideology is correct and that freedom, the Constitution, or any opposing viewpoint is wrong. And we've gotten to a point in America, and this is the upshot of this. We've gotten to a point in America where it's now okay. We've progressed to where it's now okay for leftists, Marxists, whatever you want to call them, communists, can violently act out against others for opposing them. And they can do so with a clear conscience because they have been so heavily indoctrinated, right, by leftist ideology coming through the academic branches and then reinforced by media outlets and their, I'm going to say, their ilk that do have positions of power and have presumed authority over other people's lives based on nothing more than their opinion. Because there is no model of success on this planet where Marxist or communist ideology has been used politically to form a system that has been successful. What I'm saying is communism sucks, right? Marxism sucks, it fails. All it is good at is controlling people. This is all about control. It's about emotional and intellectual manipulation to the degree that the person, the ideologue, the demagogue, no longer controls their own thought. They are the most ignorant of proletariat, who proclaim that they have an individual voice that matters, but it is not their individual voice, because they were never told they were an independent agent. They were always told that they were an agent of the people. They were just one of the people, right? So when they say they want freedom, communists claim they want freedom. They don't want freedom. They want the opposite of that. They want to destroy freedom. They believe that once you've been liberated from your freedoms, from your liberties, that only then can you be free, because then we are freed of conflict between classes and individuals. They believe that communism is free when everyone's the same. That is where and why and how we can look at it as being an abhorrent and polar opposite of common law freedom, common law liberty, common law rights. They believe that you need to be liberated from that and then you are free. So we go all the way back to the beginning. Protesters are dangerous. And we can look at what they're doing now. They are incredibly dangerous because they are willing now, at this point in the progression, the political or the politicized progression, of their belief system and their demands to change fundamentally our world to their world. It is now to the point where there is going to be violence and conflict. And they'll feel wholly justified in doing that. Why are Trump supporters being bashed on the head? Why are Milo supporters, or just people interested in the debate itself, being bashed on the head? Again, debate and free speech is about a sharing of ideas and allowing all parties interested to participate as observers and not be forced to choose one way or another. That is what violent revolution is about. Violence is about control, and it's about taking away other people's choices. And there comes a point with people where they've been pushed so far that they will become violent. And it's fascinating that the communists, protesters, they're allowed to say whatever they want. They're allowed to believe whatever they want, but they still believe they're oppressed. This goes for the sexual movements, that is feminism. The Black Lives Matter movement believes that, everyone else has special privilege and they don't. But their reaction is to become violent. It is that way politically. Now we have the political left becoming more and more violent. When you look at Muslims, they are offended to the degree that they believe that violence is an appropriate response to what has been said or done by others. And in all cases, there is no general, There's nothing general about what is being done to them that's harmful. In individual cases, and I'll pull out police shootings, you can show where a cop has shot a black person, and you can make an argument that it was illegal or improper, and that someone was injured. There is an injured party, mala in si. There's a crime. But to use that as a blanket example whereby you change the rules for everybody and everything and say that every situation reflects that exactly, and so the appropriate response is always to become violent. Those are extremist ideas, extremist positions, but that is where we're going. So when I stand up and I say I am against this and I am for that, I'm not willing to get violent over it. But I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for somebody to come up and say, I've seen you on YouTube and you're an asshole. I don't agree with you, so therefore I'm going to violently oppose you. They're going to use physical violence to try and change my opinion. And there's such a huge difference between using intellectual intercourse, debate, argument, to try and influence someone and direct their thinking, because that still allows that person free choice. They want to take that away. Isn't that amazing? But if you, as someone who is more freedom-minded, if you choose to just speak, just to try and influence, not to use force, not to threaten force, if all you do is attempt to speak, they will rail against you and call you a fascist, while they, a Marxist, are employing fascist and Marxist technique, all of them against you. Because every argument they have needs to be nuclear. It needs to be the biggest response possible, because they can no longer accept that any other opinion is valid. And in fact, they have now criminalized